The XFL didn't want me. No teams overseas wanted me. So I'm like, okay, what's the next phase, next step? Let's go. Keep on moving. Time don't stop. Time don't stop for anybody. I can take all my accolades from high school to college to the NFL, but if I'm not giving back, then I'm being selfish.
Welcome to another episode of the Hey Where'd You Go podcast. I'm your host, Collin, and we have another fantastic guest. We have former University of Georgia, go Dogs, and former NFL running back, Kregg Lumpkin. Really excited to have you on the podcast, man. Thanks for carving out the time.
Thank you for inviting me and then wanted to, speak with me where I've been.
Absolutely, Kregg. To start things off, I always like to start from the very beginning of the guests that I have. So you grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta in DeKalb County. What was your childhood like?
I was born in Albany, Georgia, which is 3 hours south of Atlanta. And my mom and dad and brother. And so we moved to Atlanta when I was around 2 years old, and pretty much stayed in DeKalb County throughout my years of growing up. And just having the experience to be with the mom and dad, your brother, and then things when you get into high school, things change. You go into college, things change. So it was just a life lesson learned.
When did you get introduced to football? How did that happen? Was it your folks? Was it growing up in Georgia? What was it for you?
My brother was playing football when I was 5. He's 4 years older than me. So my dad used to always tell me when he was at practice, go out there and just race him, see how fast you are. And that's what I would do. And then that following year, he put me in football, and I guess that's what started the transition.
Did you feel something, playing football that you didn't feel in other parts of your life, or what was it that made you just gravitate, hold on to that, and hone your craft?
The adrenaline. You get a chance to take away or just express some of your frustration that you may have at home, at school. You go out there and meet new people and just learn from each other.
Coming out of high school, dude, you were a 5-star recruit, the nation's number 2 overall prospect behind Reggie Bush, coming out of Stephenson High School in 2003. How'd you handle the pressures of being such a highly touted recruit? Like, what's the mindset that someone at such a young age needs in order to tackle that?
Honestly, I was thinking more of, just trying to help my high school reach the state championship every year. Yes, I have fun, running up and down the field. But the ultimate goal for each high school athlete and each high school team is to get to the state championship, so you can rack up the amount of rings, the amount of acknowledgments, and just put your school and your head coach on the map, and the rest of the coaches, for how much they put in the work and how much you put in the work to get to that ultimate goal.
Did you enjoy the recruitment process when all the schools were hitting you up, being such a highly touted recruit, or was it kind of like, hey, I just want to focus on what I have right in front of me and just let the chips fall where they may?
I did. I was ecstatic to know that so many colleges wanted to bring me into their program and use me as either a feature back or a back out of the backfield, special teams, whatever it was. But just knowing that all the schools in the United States was looking at you to uplift their program or just bring you in to be another piece to the puzzle.
You make it sound so simple, man, but how, like, if we could go back to 17-year-old Kregg and we go back into the mindset that you had, how challenging is it? Because you look at the recruiting stuff today and everyone gets so hyped up and they're showing off, the offers that they get. How do you keep that mindset focused on exactly what's in front of you in the present moment and not get carried away with all the other recruiting stuff, and especially when you're such a highly touted prospect? Like that's the part that I'm fascinated by.
Just got to stay humble. Just like in high school, an injury can pretty much ruin the rest of your high school career, college career, to where you're battling to get back to a position to where you once was. So just staying humble. Things can humble you real quick.
And did your folks, like, were they a pretty big help during that time too? Because it's always nice to have if you got good family and friends around you as well.
Yes, my mom, my dad, and all of my family was a big help. My coaches made sure I stayed humble. Um, without them, a lot of people number two in the nation. Oh, you this, that, and the other, and the third, and you get all special kind of treatment. You grow, you can get a big head real quick, real fast, and then, like I just said before, one injury can ruin that, or one mistake off the field can ruin that. Not making the grades to get to graduation or anything like that can ruin that opportunity for you to continue your career.
Yeah, there's so many pitfalls, man. I mean, you just named off a couple of them. I think we get so the glitz and glamour is what's right in front of you, and I feel like it's easy for that to take over. But there are so many little mishaps that can happen along the way. Because let's face it, man, like we could choose choices, but not the outcomes necessarily. So you're right, man. It's like there are so many little pitfalls along the way that you have to watch out for, and that comes ultimately comes down to you, and then again, coaching staff, your teammates, your parents, and your friends. So you're in high school, highly touted recruit, University of Georgia comes in. What was it about former head coach Mark Richt and the Georgia staff that really stuck out to you and sold you on going to Athens?
Visiting the campus, sitting down and talking with Coach Rick in our living room, talking to the running back coach, and his expectations of what he's expecting if I when I came to the program, what he's looking for me to do, how he's trying to grow me into not only a better athlete but also a better man.
How do you weed through that when you're talking to coaches and coaching staffs? How do you weed through like what's genuine and what's not?
You have a sense of who it felt like family, and that's what a big thing for me. I love. I'm big on family, and that's what I was looking for. So that's what I experienced with Coach Rick and the coaching staff throughout my years at Georgia.
During your time at Georgia, Craig, you got on campus, you were injured a lot. How did you push through a lot of those injuries? Like what was it internally that got you to continue pushing through to play 4 years of college football?
It was more of, again, trying to prove people wrong. That was one of my biggest things of motivation. People say you're injury prone and you never get back to where you used to be, or you just can't do it anymore. So again, my biggest motivation was trying to prove people wrong, and just uplifting myself, motivating myself to know that I can be something great.
And I'm sure too, like you kind of get the opportunity to channel all the hype going into college, then you get the injuries, and then again, people start saying you're injury prone. Did that did kind of going back in time to the player that you were before, did that also kind of help channeling, the Craig before the injury stuff happened?
Of course, and then just having a running back room who loves to compete. Being with Tony Milton, Michael Cooper, Tyson Browning, Ronnie Powell, Chris Burgett, Albert Hollis, Danny Ware, Thomas Brown, Noshawn Moreno. I mean, it was a stable of running backs to try to compete with, to get on the field, to again prove yourself, and all the people who say you're hype, you're all hype and no results. So just motivation.
How important do you think it is for athletes to be resilient?
Very. You're gonna go through trials and tribulations, ups and downs, goods and bads, and just staying humble and motivating yourself and having a good support staff who's going to motivate you as well to keep pushing you through and tell you when you're wrong, and steer you from doing the wrong things continuously.
You talked about a lot of the great running backs that once played at the University of Georgia. You had to compete with guys like Michael Cooper, Danny Ware, Thomas Brown, No Sean Moreno. What did you learn from that experience competing with all those guys?
Just watching them how they practice, how they play, um, and then just again compete with them, trying to make sure that I get my opportunity to get on the field, get some carries, get some catches. If not on offense, on special teams, any way you can help contribute to make the team successful. And that was one of the mottos that we had at Georgia: "Big team, little me." So sacrifice yourself for individual statistics to help the team out.
It's a really great lesson to learn because it's easy to get immersed in that into the individuality of the position that you play. But I think that was the one thing I noticed from doing a little bit of my own background before I sat down with you today was that you did everything that you had to do to benefit the team. I didn't really see anything that was just me, or I. It was all about bettering the team.
Once I got there, it was all hype, and then you get injured. What's your motivation then? Is it, or I'm just gonna give up and quit, or I'm gonna keep fighting to get back to where I once was, or get some opportunities to just assist and help the team out as best as I can.
When we're channeling that resilient part of ourselves, we all have the ability. It's whether or not we tap into it. At least that's kind of what I believe. When you're tapping into that, how do you get through the dark moment in time? You get injured and there's kind of always a low period before you build yourself back up to the high. What would you tell a younger version of yourself, or a young athlete now that was going through that, to help them push through those barriers and walls that we sometimes put up in front of ourselves?
I would say first um, have a good support group, and also dig into that word, dig into let God move you, let God walk through you, motivate you, bring the light back into you, and then with that support staff, again having people that's gonna push you to get back to where you once was, not only on the field, off the field. Once you fight through injuries, you can go to a dark place. But again, just motivate yourself. You gotta, again, like you said, have it inside of you, as well as have those external factors to push you through.
When you got yourself back to that level, Craig, you get back on the field at Georgia, you score a touchdown in front of 90 plus thousand fans in Athens. What was that feeling like?
Undescribable, I can say that. Just in the moment, all you hear is silence. But then once you cross that threshold of the goal line, you hear screams and uproars and just the rush of adrenaline that pumps through your body, knowing that you've overcome a lot of obstacles. You've overcome boundaries, and you're back on the field playing, and you are in the end zone. Everybody wants to score a touchdown, get a ball in the hand, make something happen. So, I mean, it's undescribable.
I love asking that question because I used to cover LSU when I lived out in Louisiana, and we'd have to film the game, and obviously you're right on the field for that. And that was the first time I went into Death Valley, and I was on the field in front of 100,000 fans. Even though I'm not playing, you're right next to the action. It was a surreal moment that I couldn't even explain for a while, just as a camera guy on the field. And that's why I love hearing what it's like to actually be one of the players involved in a big play. During your time at Georgia, I know you had mentioned academics were always really important to you and your family. You ended up double majoring in consumer economics and housing. Why is it important for current male and female scholarship athletes to take advantage of the opportunity to have school paid for?
First of all, it's not putting a burden on your family. Just paying for books, room and tuition, meals, and then transportation. That's all that is involved in, and it's very expensive, especially now has how prices have increased. to go to college now. So I mean, why not take advantage of the opportunity if you get a free scholarship? Make the best of both opportunities. You're getting a free scholarship, and again, the icing on the cake is you playing that sport that you love to do, that you excelled at in high school or in little league to high school. Now do the same thing on and off the field.
While you're at Georgia, did you have your eyes set on the NFL? You know, you're obviously getting the education part. You're excelling on the football field as well. You know, pushing through numerous injuries. What was next for you in your mind?
Just everybody's little league goal to make it to the league, and of course, when I got injured, those dark days came into set in my head. Oh well, maybe if I don't return from this injury, then you know what's the next phase of my life, and that's why I would I'm always pushing for education, and then your sports and academic and your football or whatever sport you're playing is your icing on the cake. Because again, any injury can put you out of commission for the rest of your career. So then, what are you gonna fall back on?
You ended up making that dream come true in terms of the NFL. You signed with the Green Bay Packers as an undrafted free agent in 2008. Were you bummed out that you didn't get drafted? Did that not happening have any effect, or were you just stoked just to hop on with a team that believed in you and your abilities?
So I kind of knew during that draft, my agent was saying that from what he's heard from the 32 teams that just having so many injuries, again having that injury prone, the bug of injuries that team were kind of uh, skeptical of even trying to draft me. Even on draft night, I got a couple calls that mentioned, a couple calls of teams mentioned that I'd probably get drafted late, but that didn't happen. So my mindset again was to prove people wrong that I could still play. I can be an effective running back in blocking, catching, and catch or running and blocking, catching, and running out the backfield. So that was my goal to prove again people wrong that I am still valuable.
How difficult is it to navigate public perception when you're a big time athlete?
Again, you can go through those roller coasters, ups and downs, on and off the field. Family issues, uh, football issues. So you just gotta again have that support system that's gonna motivate you and push you through to make sure that you are humble, level headed, and staying on track.
The humbleness aspect, I think on previous episodes of the podcast, you know, I've chatted with numerous athletes where they do talk about the being humbled piece at some point and how that changed the trajectory of their career and ultimately their life and in a positive way.
Even in the NFL, when I was undrafted, I mean, every Tuesday, every Tuesday you'll see people coming in doing workouts and tryouts, and you're like, oh man, are they coming from my position? Am I gonna get cut so they can replace somebody? So again, it's always to make the best of your opportunity when you get a chance to.
Craig, you spent 4 years in the NFL with Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Seattle, and the New York Giants. What's the biggest lesson that you learned from your time in the National Football League?
Stay humble, work hard, um, fight through any adversity, and just again take advantage of your opportunities. Not everybody gets the opportunity to play in the NFL. Not every opportunity that you get once you get in the NFL will stay. So I mean, you got to fight through adversity, fight through injuries, and make sure you stay active. Uh, just keep on pushing.
Why'd you walk away from football?
I didn't walk away. 2013, after my season with the Giants, nobody called my agent, said that they wanted to either bring me in for a workout or a tryout or anything. So life goes on, right? Can't continue to just sit here and continue to work out, spend money to travel to work out, and not get any calls of any teams wanting to bring you in for a workout or a tryout or a look. So life goes on. So then I used my 2 degrees to start my career outside of football.
Was there like a dark period of time, Craig, when you weren't getting those opportunities, knowing that how you have persevered through the injuries and through the other moments throughout your career? Was there a dark period before you transitioned out completely?
Yes. It was always the question in my head of what could I have done better, or what am I not doing, or why am I not getting any more looks, when I felt like I was doing a good job at special teams, third down back, blocking, catching out the backfield. So just the opportunity didn't present itself anymore, and then I had to move on.
Was there anybody or anything internally that popped up to help you move through that?
That support system, I'm gonna keep talking about it, and that support system. Um, Once you talk to your support system and you talk to your agent, and nobody's saying that they even want to bring you in for a tryout workout. The XFL didn't want me. No teams overseas wanted me. So I'm like, okay, what's the next phase, next step? Um, let's go. Keep on moving. Time don't stop. Time don't stop for anybody.
Some of us, I feel like it's easier if you grow up and you have present parents in your life, present family, and close friends. I think it's easier to find that support system. But for those that don't have that, like how do you kind of vet out the people that you could count on, just from your own experiences?
I reached back to a lot of teammates that I've encountered throughout my years in college and high school, college and NFL. Even some of the coaches that I've been encountered with, I still keep in contact with now. I'm just bouncing ideas off of them, and talking about how they transition, and what are they doing now to help motivate them, push them through to get them to where they are now.
Did anybody talk to you about the piece? Because I know, like you said, the first thing you're thinking about during that dark period is what could I have done better? What can I do better? What can I right? It all like what can you do? But did anyone talk to you about that that had nothing to do with you at all? And it was just imagine like you have two different circles, right? This is you, and then there's the other circle, but it's all the other circle. Did anyone kind of help kind of with that mentality?
My exit interview with the Giants, he pretty much told me it was a numbers thing. So, and you hear that throughout the NFL, that it's a numbers game. Um, so nobody really sat down and said, "Hey, you didn't do this right," or "You wasn't productive in doing this," or this, that, and the third. So it was more of, it was a numbers game. You got to understand that coming into the NFL, it's always going to be a numbers game. Whether you are the third, fourth, or fifth running back, and cornerback goes down. So of course you have enough running backs, so they're gonna replace you to bring in somebody else to fulfill that cornerback or other position. So I mean, it's a numbers game.
At what point after your career ended were you able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, Craig, what an awesome career, man. Just like hug it out with yourself. At what point were you able to hug it out with yourself and like that was an awesome career in high school, at Georgia, in the pros, and just give yourself kudos for everything that you had persevered through and accomplished?
I would say it took me about a year after the fact, and again, just talking to your support team, your support system, knowing that you have a family now. I got to move on. I mean, yeah, I still get out there with my oldest son now and his team, and run sprints, and um, play scout team running back or scout team linebacker, just to keep moving, because that's what I got, 4 boys, so I can't stop.
I just know that transitions in life it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not. I know those are always challenging, and I'm just fascinated by how I think every individual has their own unique experience, and that's why I wanted to kind of dive into that with you because we all eventually get to the other side, but for some of us it takes more time. For others, maybe they can't let go of a certain thing, and it's such an important lesson in life, even though it does suck going through something like that.
You get to the top, and you set a goal to stay in the league for 10, 15 years. But again, if it's not injuries, it's a numbers game, or they always looking for somebody bigger, better, faster, stronger.
Do you still have any like dreams or like any like floating thoughts about the playing days that pop into your head now?
Oh yeah. So every recruit class that I've been a part of, I get asked questions of, if any team calls you back right now, would you go? And of course, I'm gonna say yeah. And my sons ask me this every time. Just go out there, go out in the backyard, throw the ball with them, catch with them, run sprints with them. They think they can beat me in sprints and running. So it's just you always think about it, what coulda, shoulda, woulda. But now it's more of, to move on to the next. I got four boys to try to motivate them in any sport that they want to do, and just tell them the truth, the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the roller coasters, and that they will experience.
Today, you are the chief of training at the Newton County Fire Service and Rescue in Covington, Georgia. You're blazing a trail, man. I was super stoked when I was when I was trying to figure out what happened to Kregg Lumpkin because I grew up watching you and I found out that you were a firefighter. That just blew my mind, man. How did that all come to be? So the NFL ends. You're trying to figure out what you want to do. Did you always want to be a firefighter? Did someone inspire you to do that? Like, how did this all come to fruition here?
Once I left the league, 2013, again, like I said, I used my 2 degrees to go into real estate. I did real estate with my cousin for a couple of months, and then I went to a leasing consultant for an apartment complex for a couple of years. Um, I even tried to go into the school system and be a parapro and assist the teachers. Um, but then 2016 is when Michael Cooper, who works for Clayton County Fire Emergency Services. I reached out to him, and he just told me about how he loved it and liked it and enjoyed it. So I went and applied for Clayton County, and to me, it's so much similar to playing sports or football. You practice, you train, you play, and then you, you when you get that call in the fire service, that is your game. Just in the fire service, it's a real life situation to where somebody is dependent on your skills and your knowledge to assist them and save them. In the NFL, you're protecting your life from any risk or hazards, um, but it's more of an entertainment than a real life scenario to where somebody's life is in your hands, literally.
And we're talking Michael Cooper, your former teammate at University of Georgia.
That is correct.
Wow. Oh man, the running back room at Georgia runs deep, man. I love that. So he's the one that connected you. And did he talk about the synchronicities between the two, or did you figure that out once you started getting into the training?
I figured that out in my training. Just you have a helmet, or you have a fire helmet, football helmet, fire helmet. You wear fire gear, and you have shoulder pads, thigh pads, knee pads for protection. Um, Again, to me, it's similar. You train, you practice, you play, and then when the lights come on or when that call hits, it's your time to perform.
What does it mean to you, Craig, today to be able to help people and to be a public servant and to save people from dangerous situations?
It means a lot. You just think about how many times your family has been in a situation to where you wanted to know that information of how could I help, how could I assist, how can I get this person um, to the correct medical attention that they're needing at that time. And once you get into it and just learn the ins and outs of being an EMT, an AMT, advanced EMT, starting IVs, working on the fire trucks, and knowing how to read smoke, read the building, uh, just just all the intricates, being fire and EMS emergency technician, um, helping somebody understand uh, what to do in a certain situation is again undescribable, because that your knowledge, your information could help that person uh, it can help save their life pretty much.
How long does it take to build up that confidence, in that type of an arena?
Just like anything you do in life, practice, training. Um, there's there's no amount of hours that you can I would say practice or train on any situation because every situation is different. You can go to the training facility and run in and out of that burn building, but going to an actual live fire is completely different because there's a different layout, a different setup of somebody's home. Running an EMS call is completely different because they might present different signs and symptoms. So you just gotta continue to practice, train, and learn from every opportunity.
How do you calm down those nerves in that situation? Going from, again, you're going from practice, but like you just said, then you get into a real situation. It's completely different. How do you calm those nerves down in those types of situations?
Just being confident in your skills, um, just being confident in your crew members that you work with, and you know that um, if you got their back, they have your back, and if you need some assistance, just ask. It's never uh, too prideful to ask for assistance or help.
I read something online, and this was in an article, and you said, I had people ask me, why was I there in the first place instead of trying to play football? When they said why I was there in the first place, you being a firefighter, how, thinking about that now, like, what comes up, and how do you respond to that?
Just having the servant mentality, servant ability to give back. Again, I can take all my accolades from high school to college to the NFL. But if I'm not giving back, then I'm being selfish. It's not. It's only been internal rather than like with my boys. I can give them all the knowledge and understanding of the game as they play football. Um, to help them out and of course they're not going to go through the same experience that I did, but they could. And then in those experiences, then they can fall back on that basic foundation of, well, my dad told me this, or if I'm giving a class or information, this is the basic foundation of what you can fall back on, and you always fall back on the basics.
When you were a little kid, Craig, what did you want to be when you grew up?
One, an NFL player, and then um, I wanted to be a doctor, a firefighter, a cowboy. There's so many things that I wanted to be, but just uh, once you start growing up and you start getting into um, just finding out who you are, who you want to be, you're starting to fit find that mold that you want to get into.
How cool is that, man, that you were able to accomplish? Again, I know as a kid, there's always a myriad of things we want to be, but how awesome is that you were able to accomplish two? One of which very few people do, which is play in the NFL. And then secondary to that, public service, man, public servant as a firefighter. That is freaking awesome.
It is, and I'm excited to still be in it and enjoying what I do. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody gets the training that they need from the training division, understanding that everything is not going to be the same. Things change on a daily basis, and the one thing in the fire service that firefighters don't like is change, and it's always going to change every year. Like with COVID, how the houses are built now from back then. Things are going up a lot quicker and a lot hotter. So
You mentioned change earlier in the conversation, and then you said your motto at Georgia, and you could tell me if I have this correct: big team, little me, right?
yes, sir.
Do you use that big team, little me strategy now as chief of training?
I try to do that more of with my division. Try to make sure that they have everything they need to make them successful in instructing our recruits as well as our online personnel. Making sure that every year that our online personnel have um, all the hours that they need to recertify for their state EMS licenses as well as their state fire certification. So um, I put the team first before me.
If you could go back in time to a younger version of yourself with all the knowledge that you've gathered over the years, what would you tell him?
Save your money, um, stay humble, and continue to work hard at everything you do.
I love that, man. You really hit on some really fantastic points. Change occurring in life, change is inevitable. It's the only constant. Being humble. You really touched on some fantastic points, Kregg. Really appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you.